Over the last few years, Manchester United fans, we've all learned about many examples of how toxic our club is. From inside out, the culture, the performance, everything. And Bastian Schweinsteiger, speaking on The Overlap this week, has, in my opinion, exposed probably one of the worst examples I've heard of it. In this video, I want to react to what he's had to say and put it into a wider conversation around how difficult the task is for Jim Ratcliffe, and also using examples from Evra, from Van Gaal, from Rio, from Herrera. This is not an isolated incident from Schweinsteiger. It's just, in my opinion, it's one of the worst examples of it. You can let me know what you think in the comments below, as you always do, especially what your reaction to this is. Now, the first thing I want to say about this, right? Schweinsteiger speaking about his time at Manchester United. The fact that he hasn't spoken about this in 7 years is a real testament to the professionalism of Bastian Schweinsteiger, because he could have easily created headlines at the time or at any other point. But he's waited until Gary Neville has spoken to him in an interview. By the way, Gary Neville, I love The Overlap, man. It's one of the best things on the internet, football-wise, football content-wise. Just a very good interview and makes players comfortable. And we get these sorts of responses. But Schweinsteiger, despite all of everything that's happened here, it's mad how much he still loves United. At the time, every time after, he's like a United cheerleader. Which I'm very surprised about, given how he was treated here by Jose Mourinho and Ed Woodward. Have a quick listen to this clip here, which is available on Overlap's channel. I'll leave the link to the full interview in the comments, but this is from Twitter, all right?
Jose comes in. What happens then?
You want to know? So when I came first day, I actually trained with Zlatan. He was also there. And I was like, oh, great. A player who is like, has the vision and amazing to play with.
Yeah.
And then next day, my birthday, when I walked in, John Murtha was there and he said, oh, you're not allowed to walk into the dressing room. And I said, why? And I said, he said, yeah, the coach said so. So, okay. And I said,
without any warning?
Nothing. No warning, nothing.
You don't have to walk into the dressing room?
Yes. He just stood there and told me that.
John Murtha?
Yeah.
Why would he tell you?
I don't know.
And Jose just didn't want you in the dressing room?
Yeah.
What did you do on that first day?
So someone could have told me there, you know, no problem. Or explain it to me just like in a normal way. But okay, I went to the youth dressing room. I've changed there and I trained with the under 17.
They kicked you out of the first team dressing room?
Yeah.
Completely?
Yeah, completely. So I had to ask him to bring me my cleats and training gear, for example, to train then with, I asked like, okay, with who I'm training? And he said like, there's the under 16 team. So I trained with the under 16 team.
Was this made public at the time?
No.
And Gary Neville's face there says it all, really, as to the initial reaction to that. So Schweinsteiger, of course he's had injury problems. Was this before the injury problems or after them? I'm not quite sure, actually. Trains for the first day with Zlatan. The next day, walks in on his birthday. John Murtha says, no, you can't come in here, mate. Mourinho's booted him out. Woodward's booted him out. This is why I want to do this video, right? Because that is just ridiculous. There are so many different ways that you can approach telling Schweinsteiger. Like, when we signed Schweinsteiger and Schneider in the midfield, man, I thought we'd sorted our midfield, and it didn't really work out, did it? So I'm not saying that he was an incredible player. How dare you disrespect? But there are ways to treat human beings, and there are ways to treat players. And then people are going to be going, oh, Sam, well, you agreed with Erik ten Hag pushing Jadon Sancho out, so he trained on his own, and that was after something completely different. Like, he undermined his manager, he called him a liar in public, he refused to apologise, he refused to take it down, he refused to do anything the manager asked of him, so he was a straight-up disciplinary. This is just a player who came back from ready to train. What do you mean he can't go in? And for 3 months, he trained on his own. This right here is just another example of why I hate Ed Woodward so much. Like, and I capital H-A-T-E, hate Ed Woodward. Probably the worst example of what he did and the way he operated was Louis van Gaal. Finding out he was sacked after the FA Cup final, in the stadium, fans finding out, some booing, some cheering, the fact that Van Gaal was sat walking down Wembley Way. Just after winning the FA Cup, hearing that the manager's been sacked. And Van Gaal was spoken about how much he hated that. And somebody who's spoken about it as well, about how he went around finding out that he was leaving Manchester United. This is Rio Ferdinand speaking about it on the High Performance podcast.
last day of the season. Listen, we're not. Someone comes to you, the CEO, Ed Woodward would come to you normally and go, "We're not giving you a deal, or we know you're not going to sign, so look for pastures new end of the season." I didn't get either of them. Last day of the season, we play Southampton. Game finishes, and I come in a change room, and the directors and stuff always come into the change room, home and away, and just shake the players' hands. So Bobby Charlton, Ed Wood would come in, and then he stood next to me. Ed Woodward, or sat next to me at that point after the game. My boots all still on, etc., and just said, "Listen, we're not going to renew your deal. Thanks for your services at the club. You're free to go and just speak to other clubs and what you want to do." And I was like, "Wow, is that the way it's going to end?"
Why like that? For someone that had done as much as you.
No, that was what I thought. Like, well, surely you could have given me a heads up before, and so I could have actually had a little bit of a goodbye.
Did you say that to him?
Nope. No goodbye. No nothing. Just sat down. Just tell you on the last day of the season. Rio kind of left out the back door, really, and given what he'd done at the club, it was insane. Patrice Evra, him speaking about... So basically, Patrice Evra told the club, he said, "I can't renew my contract for that extra season." And Edward shook his hand and said, "All right, fair enough."
I wish I can, but I can't, because for a family reason, I need to leave.
For family reasons.
So he checked my hand and he said, "Yes, of course, I understand that. You've been a great servant for the club." So I remember on my birthday, I was in Dubai having a dinner and received a... I said, "I'm having a dinner. It's the 15th of May. It was the day of my birthday." So he said, "Can you go
On his birthday as well. It was Schweinsteiger's birthday.
far if we are with some people?" I said, "Oof, what kind of news you asked me to go like far from?" And he said, "I will send you a message, but don't go angry." So the message was the statement of Manchester United. "We are pleased and confirm to renew the option of Patrice Evra for another year." Wow. So I go mad. I go mad because I say, like, you can't renew that option. But it was like a B1, like the club can do it or myself.
Right.
So they did it. And, Ed gave me his hand and he said he won't. So I feel...
So Edward were lying straight to Patrice Evra's face, saying, "No, we're not going to renew it." Goes behind his back and does it. Man, it was an absolute snake of a man. And this is and Herrera speaking about his contract and not getting a contract renewal offer.
Matt Busby,
Exactly. Yeah. And the club didn't call me in that summer to sign a new contract, and they did with other players. So that was painful for me, honestly. I think I deserved. They didn't do it, and after the conditions changed because I was not happy with that little moment from the club.
And you remember what happened towards the end there with Andy Herrera? In that podcast, he actually cried about leaving. But that was, I think, a consequence of the Alexis Sanchez contract that inflated how much other players wanted. He ended up leaving and going to PSG for more money. It ended up being a weird breakdown. But all of this is the point I'm getting at with this video, which I hope you don't think is long-winded, but it's this poisonous culture that's all been enabled by the Glazers, enabled by the people that they put in power to do their bidding with hardly any sort of human empathy. Schweinsteiger coming into the club on his birthday. Not that his birthday's got anything to do with it. Walking into the club, finding out, oh, okay, I've got to train with under 16s for 3 months. Or Louis van Gaal finding out on the day where he's won the FA Cup that he's been sacked. Or whether it's Rio Ferdinand finding out after the last game of the season, last time he's going to play for United. Oh, you're never going to play for United again, by the way. You could have had a goodbye there. We're not letting you have that. Or whether it's Patrice Evra finding out that despite the fact that Woodward has said no, he's not going to renew the contract, that he's done it behind his back. And then the Ander Herrera one's just an example. These pricks, they're almost like, the Baron in June. That's these two embodied. That's these three people. And that's why it's so important they've all been dashed out of the club, man. Woodward, Arnold, Murto, I do have sympathy for Murto, if I'm honest. I think he was a good employee that turned into a bad employee because he was given the wrong role and asked to do things that he just simply couldn't do. And this is the culture that Brailsford and Ratcliffe are coming and going, "Jesus, man, it's bad, isn't it?" And that story from Schweinsteiger is only the latest example of it. But that's why we need the right football heads in place, because Omar Barada, I guarantee you he would have done that a lot differently with Schweinsteiger, with Herrera, with Rio, with Patrice, with Van Gaal maybe. It's a human element. Which a snake who's cold-blooded like that, reptilian, doesn't have that sort of side. And it's created this toxic vacuum where the environment of Manchester United just isn't there to help anybody. If anything, it's to hurt people. It pisses me off. And I said, the fact that Schweinsteiger's not said anything for 7 years is amazing, really. What a gent. And I just can't wait until this environment doesn't... Man United used to be the place where... I used the analogy or the example of Beckham coming back from the World Cup when he was vilified. He was getting effigies burnt of him and hung outside the pubs after he got sent off against Argentina. Comes back to United, doors closed. You're inside here now, you're safe. That's not the environment of Manchester United anymore. And until that returns, I don't think we'll ever be that top-level club. That is what made United special and different. And that is what Ratcliffe and Brailsford have such a difficult job in bringing back. And all these different examples here of how bad it's been these last 10 years.